Hi everyone, my name is Linda, and can I just say a happy new year to you all. On Sunday I spoke from 1 Kings 17. I pulled out lessons to learn from the widow of Zarephath, and the widow and Elijah meet each other, and it's the story, or part of the story of their interaction. Basically, Israel is in drought, and Elijah himself prophesied the drought, and it's about just under a year into the drought, and there isn't much water, there isn't much food. Elijah has been supernaturally fed by God using ravens, and he's by a brook in Zarephath, and God says to him when that runs out, go to Zarephath, and at Zarephath in Sidon there is a widow. That widow will feed you. So Elijah faithfully goes, he sees the widow, she's picking up sticks, and he says to her, please could you get me some water, and could you also give me some bread? The widow says, I have just a little bit of flour left and a little bit of oil, enough for the last meal for myself and my son. That's all we have. We have nothing more to give. Elijah says, please go ahead, make the bread you were planning to make, but give me some of it. And if you do, my God will make sure you have enough food till the end of the drought. The widow, she's probably someone who didn't know God. Most of the people in the area were worshippers of Baal. She probably didn't know God, yet in faith, she makes the bread and she gives of it to Elijah. And God, faithful God, provides for her through the drought, as he said he would, for her and her son and Elijah. From the story, I pulled out 3 points. 1, God is faithful. God was faithful to the widow. God was faithful to Elijah, and God is faithful to us. Many of us at the moment still are facing difficult situations. We are separated from our family and friends. We are possibly worried about the future, about our employment, about work. We're concerned about our health and our nation and the NHS. And yet in the midst of it, God is faithful. God has not changed. The same God who was faithful to what he spoke to Elijah and the widow is the same God who is faithful to us today. My second point, stepping out in faith allows God to move. It gives space for God to move. I really felt almost a challenge from God that this is a time to step out in faith, giving him space to move in our lives, giving him space to demonstrate his faithfulness. And I felt challenged myself about where to step out in faith. The widow gave of the last of her food in faith that the God that Elijah spoke of would faithfully provide for her. Elijah, in faith, asked the widow and asked again, knowing that the God who he listens to and he obeys is faithful. And for us, it will look different. But I feel like be listening. Where is God asking you to step out in faith and give him space to move? And finally, God can and does use anyone. He will use those that it seems very logical and very obvious to use. People that are obviously gifted, people that are obviously articulate, people that are obviously well educated, or whatever other things our society deems as privileged. It's quite obvious when God uses them. We can see why. But our God doesn't differentiate like that. He will use anyone. He will use you, and he does not dismiss or disqualify you. We can disqualify ourselves because of a lack of education or an inability to be articulate, or what we see as a lack of gifting, but God doesn't. He says, I choose you. I have chosen you. I have called you. And it's for such a time as this to be used in your sphere of influence. It doesn't mean that you're suddenly going to be the one preaching every Sunday. That's not it. Influence is wherever he puts you, be it in the arts or education or medicine or whatever the realm of influence he has asked you to take hold of, he will use you. Do not dismiss or disqualify yourself, because our God, who knows every part of you and knows you better than you know yourself, does not disqualify you or dismiss you because of worldly things. So, some questions to think about. One, is there any situation at the moment where you are struggling to see the faithfulness of God? Or can you share a situation where you are feeling fearful or anxious, and maybe your group can pray together for you that you will know peace and the faithfulness of God? Number two, I just sense that some of you, either because of your past or because of what you see as a lack in yourself, that you have dismissed yourself. And actually, I think it would be good to go around in a smaller group and just share some of the gifts and the good things that God has put in you. Share it with your group, and then as a group together bless each other, whether it's creativity, hospitality, friendliness, articulate, being able to communicate, whatever it is. I'm not being very articulate, but whatever it is, let's bless the gifts and the good things God has put in each other, and let's prophesy good things over each other in this new year. And finally, I want to give space and time, not even just this evening, but for you personally, to give space and time to hear God. Where is he calling you to step out and make space so that he can move? And I feel like as you do it, as you step out, there is an expansion coming. There's a growth that's going to happen. As it's almost like as you use your faith muscle, that the gifts he's given you, there's going to be an expansion of. So it'd be good if you know already to share with the group, and let's pray about that. But it'd be good to maybe pull it out with others. We all have places we can step out and be uncomfortable in. Where is God asking you to this year?